While I was away on a business trip, my sister kicked my 12-year-old daughter out of our parents' home. I called my mom for answers, and all she said was that we weren't needed there anymore. So I cut them off, stopped paying their bills, and now they're facing the reality of losing their house. I never imagined I'd find myself back here, standing in front of my parents' door after all this time. I'm Lauren, and this house, it's full of memories I've spent years trying to bury. My phone sits heavy in my pocket, still radiating warmth from the call that changed everything. My mom, urgently asking me to come over. Behind me, my car is parked in the driveway, and all I can think about is Chloe, my 9-year-old, who I just dropped off at Monica's, my friend. It'll just be a couple of hours, I told Chloe, trying to sound more sure than I really was. The last time I truly spoke with my parents was 3 years ago, at my grandmother's funeral. Before that, it was that awful day when I was 18, the day they made it clear they had chosen Tara over me. I can still see myself standing right here, tears streaming down my face, as they told me they were giving my college fund to Tara for her wedding. "But that's for my education," I had yelled. "She needs a proper wedding," Mom had said, her voice sharp and final. "You can take out student loans like everyone else." I walked away that day, and honestly, I never really looked back. The only one who never turned her back on me was my grandmother. She helped me pay for community college. Not the dream university I once hoped for, but it was something. I poured myself into my studies, earned my degree, and carved out a life on my own terms. The years that followed were a blur of hard work and quiet wins. I met Ryan, my now ex-husband, during my last year of college. We got married, had Chloe, and for a while it all felt right. Even after we split 2 years ago, we've kept things civil. Ryan pays alimony without issue, and we both put Chloe first in everything. Now at 36, I'm managing just fine. The apartment I inherited from Grandma, God rest her soul, brings in a stable rental income. With that, Ryan's support, and my part-time job at Marshall and Associates, I have enough to give Chloe the time and attention she deserves. I take a breath and finally press the doorbell. Whatever this is about, I remind myself, I'm not that scared teenager anymore. "Lauren, you came," Mom says, opening the door, her surprise catching me off guard. She looks older than I remember. More silver in her hair, deeper lines etched into her face. Dad stands behind her, offering a strained smile that barely hides his discomfort. "Where's Chloe?" Mom asks, glancing past me. "We haven't seen her since—" "She's with a friend," I cut in, stepping inside. "You said it was urgent?" The house smells exactly the same. Mom's vanilla air freshener still blending with Dad's ever-present coffee. They guide me into the living room. Everything looks just a little worn. The elegant furniture they once bought for Tara's wedding, now faded and tired. "Would you like some tea?" Mom asks, twisting her hands anxiously. "Number, just tell me why I'm here," I reply, staying on my feet. "It's been years, and suddenly it's urgent?" And then, Mom breaks down. Not the quiet, controlled weeping I remember from when I was little. These are full-body sobs, the kind that make you ache just hearing them. Dad wraps an arm around her, and my Sarakash knots. "We're about to lose the house," he says finally. I stay silent. I know there's more. There always is. "It's your sister," Mom begins, and instantly that old familiar knot tightens in my chest. Of course it's Tara. "She asked us to take out a loan for Eric's business. We used the house as collateral." "Let me guess," I say flatly, my voice cold. "Her husband bailed. Tara's not paying it back?" "Eric's business went under," Dad says, avoiding my eyes. "They're in trouble. Her, the kids. They've stopped making the payments. And we can't keep up." A bitter laugh escapes me. They both look at me like I've lost it. Maybe I have. "So you called me, the daughter you threw away, the one whose college fund you handed to Tara, to fix her mess again?" "We know you're doing well," Mom blurts, wiping at her eyes, desperate now. "Your apartment, the rental income, we wouldn't be asking if we weren't out of options," Mom said. I stood there staring at the same people who had chosen my sister over me at every opportunity. The same ones who didn't even bother to send me a wedding invite, who barely looked at me during Grandma's funeral because Tara happened to be pregnant. "I'll think about it," I heard myself say. And honestly, it caught me off guard just as much as it did them. I needed to pick up Chloe. Driving away, a storm of thoughts swirled in my head. I couldn't shake the sense that I was standing on the edge of something huge, either the worst decision I'd ever make or the most pivotal. Either way, life would never look the same again. "Mom, were you crying?" Chloe asked the second she hopped into the car at Monica's place. She's always been sharp, sometimes too sharp for her age. I wiped at my face, only then realizing the tears had been flowing silently during the entire drive. "Just thinking about some things, sweetheart," I said, trying to sound light. "Actually, I saw your grandparents today." Her eyes lit up instantly. "Really? The ones from the pictures? Can I meet them?" Of course she'd want that. They were her grandparents, even if they'd never made an effort to be in her life. The following week was torture. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every scenario, every possible outcome, played on repeat in my head. "You're out of your mind," Monica told me over coffee. "After everything they've done?" "Maybe I am," I admitted. "But Chloe deserves to know where she comes from. And maybe I need this too, to face it." So a week later, I found myself back in the car, heading toward my parents' house. This time with Chloe buzzing beside me, bouncing in the seat with excitement. The reunion was strange. Mom broke down crying again, and Dad stood there stiffly, awkward as ever, until Chloe dashed forward and threw her arms around both of them. They looked stunned at first, then something softened in them. For a moment I saw a spark, genuine joy, the kind they used to reserve just for Tara. We stayed the whole afternoon. Chloe completely enchanted them, showing off her drawings, talking about school, sharing stories about her friends, and how she won the spelling bee. They listened intently to everything, and when their eyes drifted back to me, I saw something unexpected: regret. That night, on the drive home, as Chloe gushed about her grandparents and everything she loved about them, I made my choice. Maybe I was opening myself up to another round of hurt. Maybe I was insane, but I was going to help them. The next day, I called my real estate agent and put my apartment back on the rental market. Then I called Mom. "I'll help with the loan payments," I said quickly before I could second-guess myself. "Chloe and I are moving in." I explained that the rent money would go straight toward the mortgage, and I'd help with the household bills too. But we needed ground rules. Firm ones. There was silence. Then Mom started sobbing again. "Thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much." 2 weeks later, Chloe and I moved in. I replaced some of the old appliances: a brand new fridge with an ice maker Chloe adored, a dishwasher that didn't leak, and a washer that didn't sound like it was on its last leg. Dad's back pain eased up once he no longer had to do dishes by hand, and Mom genuinely seemed happy to have us in the house. Over the next few months, we settled into a surprisingly easy rhythm. Mom started making breakfast for everyone, and I'll admit, despite my doubts, there was something comforting about waking up to hot coffee and pancakes. She picked Chloe up from school, helped her with her homework, and even began teaching her to bake, something I never had the patience for. Dad cut his work hours and finally started taking care of his back. He taught Chloe how to play chess, which I never learned myself. Their matches became a regular thing, part of our weekly routine. With Chloe so well looked after, I began putting in more time at work. One day, my boss, Mr. Whitaker, called me into his office. "We've noticed your renewed focus lately," he said. "How would you feel about a promotion?" It came with more pay and more responsibility, including business trips to other states. In the past, I would have shut it down immediately. Single mom, no backup. It wouldn't have worked, but now? "I'll take it," I said, surprised at how calm and certain I sounded. The first trip was nerve-wracking. 3 days in Chicago felt like a lifetime. "She'll be fine," I must have whispered to myself 100 times. And she was. Mom sent me photos of Chloe doing homework, eating dinner, playing with Dad. It all worked. Somehow it all worked. But still, there were moments, little things that felt off. Like when Mom would get these phone calls from Tara, disappear into her bedroom, and come out with red, puffy eyes. Sometimes I'd spot those bank transfer notifications pop up on Mom's phone while I was helping her set up her new tablet. Money being sent straight to Tara. When I confronted her, Mom didn't hesitate. She needs help sometimes, she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. She's having a hard time with Eric right now. I stared at her. Mom, I'm the one paying your bills. I'm the one covering the loan Tara bailed on. And you're sending her money? You don't understand, Mom snapped back, instantly defensive. It's not Tara's fault Eric's business went under. She has 2 kids to take care of. And I've got 1 kid, plus your mortgage, plus groceries, plus everything else, I fired back. But just like always, she turned away, shutting down the conversation the second it got uncomfortable. Those arguments started happening more often, but I tried to focus on the good. Chloe was happy. I was making progress at work. And on most days, it really felt like maybe, just maybe, we were healing. One evening, after a few too many glasses of wine, Dad actually apologized. We messed up, he said quietly, staring into his drink. Big time. I wanted to say more, to finally open that old wound and talk about what they did to me. But Mom cut in quickly, changing the topic to Chloe's school play. 3 years passed like that. Chloe turned 12, growing more independent by the day. I'd adjusted to the travel that came with my job. Every few weeks I'd be flying out somewhere new, but I always came back to a stable home and a happy kid. The loan was being paid off. The bills were handled. Life, for once, felt manageable. Then came that Tuesday night. I remember it clearly. It was the day I closed a major deal in Phoenix. I even caught an early flight back, excited to surprise Chloe. But the second I pulled into the driveway, I heard voices. Too many voices. I opened the front door and walked into chaos. Tara was draped across the living room couch, the one I just had reupholstered last month. Her 2 kids, Lily and Noah, the niece and nephew I knew only from photographs, were scattered across the floor with their tablets. Suitcases were everywhere. Tara barely glanced up from her phone. "Oh," she muttered, like I was the one intruding. "Look who's here." And just like that, I knew. Everything was about to unravel again. Only this time, I wasn't that naive girl they walked over. I wasn't 18 anymore, and I wasn't about to let them run the same play twice. "I left Eric," Tara said casually, still lounging on the couch like she didn't have a care in the world. "He's a loser. We're staying here now." I stood frozen in the doorway, work bag still hanging from my shoulder, trying to absorb what I was hearing. My parents were parked in their usual seats, avoiding eye contact, pretending this was all fine. Lily, 10, and Noah, 6, were planted in front of their screens. "You're staying here," I repeated slowly. "In this house? The one I pay for? The one I kept from foreclosure after you defaulted on the loan?" Tara flushed, her face twisting in annoyance. "Oh God, here we go again. Miss Perfect with her job and her money. Some of us actually have problems, Lauren." "Problems? Like dragging our parents into a 6-figure loan and walking away from it?" My voice was rising. My patience wasn't just thin. It was gone. "Girls, please," Mom finally interjected, her tone tight. "We're family, and family supports each other, especially in hard times." I let out a dry, humorless laugh. Funny how that only applies when you need something. Where was this family loyalty when you handed my college fund to Tara, or when I didn't even get an invite to her wedding? "That was ages ago," Mom snapped, her voice sharp. "Why can't you let the past go? Your sister needs us now." The following weeks were suffocating. Tara claimed the couch as her throne, spending most days glued to her phone or watching TV. Her kids tore through the house like a tornado, leaving messes no one else cleaned. But the worst part? The way my parents started shifting. Chloe, my Chloe, began to disappear from their focus. She showed Mom her math test once. She'd gotten an A, and Mom barely looked up, too absorbed in helping Noah with a video game. When Chloe asked Dad if they could play chess like always, he brushed her off with a tired sigh, and then spent 2 hours playing catch with Lily in the backyard. One evening, after Chloe had gone to bed, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Mom, what's happening? Why are you treating Chloe like she doesn't exist?" "Don't be silly," she said, waving me off. "Chloe's older now. She doesn't need as much attention. Lily and Noah are younger. They need more from us right now." Support? I shot back. Chloe's 12. She still needs her grandparents. But Mom was already halfway down the hallway, answering Tara's call for more snacks. 2 long months crawled by. I buried myself in work, taking on extra assignments just to avoid going home. Tara still hadn't made a single effort to find a job. And somehow, my parents were fine with that. Every time I brought it up, they defended her. She's been through a lot, Dad would say. She has kids to think about, Mom would add. Meanwhile, I was still the one paying for everything. The mortgage, the utilities, and the grocery bill that had practically doubled. But the money wasn't what hurt most. What crushed me was watching Chloe fade into the background in her own home. And then came that Wednesday. I came home early, planning to take Chloe out for ice cream, our little ritual when things got too tense. But as I reached the front door, I could already hear shouting from inside. "You lazy, good-for-nothing brat!" Tara's voice rang through the house like a whip. "Look at this mess. Clean it up. Now!" I rushed inside to find her towering over Chloe, who was on her knees gathering up scattered toys. Toys I immediately recognized as Noah's. "What's going on here?" I demanded. "She refuses to help around the house," Tara snapped. "Your precious little princess thinks she's too special to clean up after her cousins." I glanced down at the toys. "You mean your kids' mess?" I asked, my voice tight. "Where are Lily and Noah anyway?" "They're napping. Someone has to keep this house together." "I'm not here because I work," I fired back, my patience snapping. "Unlike some people who lounge around all day waiting for someone else to pick up the slack." The fight that followed was loud, brutal, and long overdue. Tara stormed to our parents, tears in her eyes, crying that I was trying to buy her, and like clockwork, they sided with her. "Lauren, please," Mom said, trying to play peacemaker. "Try to be more understanding. Tara's children." "What about my child?" I interrupted sharply. "What about Chloe?" But there was no response. There never was when the subject was Tara versus me. And as bad as that moment was, I had no idea how much worse it would get. The following week, I was called to Seattle for a last-minute client meeting. It was supposed to be just 5 days. "You'll be okay, right?" I asked Chloe at breakfast, for what felt like the 100th time. "I'll be fine, Mom," she said with a brave little smile. "I've got my phone. We'll video chat." But 4 days in, around 9 p.m., Seattle time, my phone rang. Chloe's photo lit up the screen. "Mom?" Her voice was trembling, ragged with sobs. "Mom, I'm outside. Aunt Tara kicked me out. She said I was in the way. I only have my phone." My heart dropped. The room around me stopped existing. My 12-year-old daughter was out on the street, alone, at night. Hands shaking, I called Monica, my closest friend who lived nearby. "Please," I begged. "Chloe's outside my parents' house. Can you go get her?" Then I dialed Tara. She picked up on the 5th ring, her tone already full of disdain. "Oh, the princess called you?" she sneered. "Maybe now she'll learn not to be such a little brat. Always mouthing off, always acting better than everyone else." I hung up and called my parents. Mom answered. "Your granddaughter is outside right now," I said, my voice frozen and flat. "Did you see Tara throw her out? Did you just watch?" There was a pause. Then Mom spoke, cold and certain. Maybe it's for the best, Lauren. Maybe you and Chloe should find somewhere else to live. It doesn't feel like you fit here anymore." And just like that, everything came into sharp, painful focus. Some things, some people, never change. "You're right, Mom," I said quietly. "We never did fit here." I ended the call and booked the earliest flight home I could find. It was time to break the cycle. For good. The flight felt endless. 5 agonizing hours of turbulence, both in the air and in my chest. Monica sent me updates every 30 minutes. Chloe was safe. Chloe was quiet. Chloe was resting. But I couldn't breathe until I could see her with my own eyes. At 3 a.m., I arrived at Monica's house. Chloe was curled up asleep on the couch, her face still streaked with tears. As I knelt beside her and stroked her hair, Monica whispered, "She told me what happened. Lauren, it's worse than you think." According to Chloe, Tara had been treating her like a maid for weeks, making her clean the house, cook meals, even do laundry, all for Tara's kids. And when Chloe finally said no, when she tried to explain she needed to study for a test, Tara exploded. "Get out!" she screamed. "Get out of my house!" "It's not your house," Chloe had said back. "My mom pays for everything." That's when Tara grabbed her by the arm and shoved her toward the door. And my parents? They were right there. They saw it happen, and they did nothing. I let Chloe sleep. Then I spent the night making calls. First to my rental agency, asking if there was any way to end the current lease early. Then to my lawyer, wanting to know what legal rights I had regarding the appliances and furniture I'd purchased for that house. Finally to a moving company. The next morning I took Chloe out for pancakes at her favorite diner. "Sweetheart, I need you to be completely honest with me," I said softly, watching her push syrup around on her plate. "Has Tara ever done this before? Has she hurt you before?" Chloe didn't answer at first, but her silence said enough. She told me I was spoiled," she finally whispered, "that I thought I was better than her kids. Grandma said the same, that I needed to learn my place." My hand trembled as I gripped my coffee cup. "Why didn't you tell me, baby?" I asked. Chloe looked up at me, those wise, worn eyes that never matched her age. "Because you seemed happy," she said quietly. "You were smiling more," Chloe said softly. "And Grandma and Grandpa, sometimes they were nice, when Aunt Tara wasn't there." I reached across the table and gently took her hand in mine. "Chloe, listen to me," I said quietly. "There is nothing, absolutely nothing more important to me than you. Not this house, not my parents, not the past, just you. We're going home," I told her, "back to our apartment, and this time we're staying for good." After breakfast, we drove straight to my parents' place. Tara's car was gone, probably off on one of her errands, which somehow never involved anything resembling a job search. Mom opened the door, blinking in surprise. "Lauren! We didn't expect you back so soon." I didn't respond. I walked right past her, holding Chloe's hand tight. Outside, the moving crew I'd hired was already waiting. "Take everything I bought," I instructed them firmly. "The fridge, washer, dishwasher, TV, the new couch." I moved through the house, pointing at every single item I had paid for over the years. "You can't do this," Mom cried, panic rising in her voice. "We need those things." "Actually, I can," I said calmly, handing the foreman a folder of receipts. "They're all mine. I bought them." Dad showed up just as the movers were disconnecting the entertainment system I gave them last Christmas. He stood frozen in the doorway. "Lauren," he started. "Don't," I cut him off. "Just don't. You stood there while Tara kicked your granddaughter out onto the street. You chose her, again. And this time, you chose her over Chloe. We're done. But the bills..." Mom's voice quivered, barely above a whisper. I turned to face them both. "You'll figure it out," I said. "The same way I figured out college by myself. The same way Chloe had to figure out how to survive being thrown out of her own home in the middle of the night. Consider this." I gestured to the movers carrying out the last appliance. "My final payment for all the times you chose Tara over me." The next few months were interesting. My phone started buzzing the very next day. First it was Mom, then Dad, then Tara, then back to Mom. The voicemails came fast, some angry, others tearful. The text messages were worse, screenshots of unpaid bills, photos of Tara's sad-looking kids, guilt trips about losing the house. Mom even sent pictures of my old bedroom, like that would be enough to pull me back. One evening, as Chloe and I shared pizza on our tiny balcony, watching the sunset over the city, she looked over at me. "Why don't you ever answer them?" she asked as another message buzzed in. Our apartment felt smaller than my parents' house, but somehow lighter, like we could breathe for the first time. "Because we don't owe them anything," I said. "Sometimes silence is the best answer." Chloe nodded, that wise old soul look in her eyes again. "I do miss Grandpa's chess games sometimes," she admitted, "but not how they made me feel when Aunt Tara was around." I pulled her into a hug. "We can get you chess lessons," I said, "from someone who won't stop playing just because your cousin walks into the room." Weeks became months. Through the family grapevine, I heard little updates. My parents had gone back to working full-time. They were barely keeping up with their bills. The bank was threatening foreclosure. Tara still wasn't working, still blaming me to anyone who would listen. But now I was using the money I used to pour into that house to live, really live, with Chloe. Weekend road trips, theme parks, hikes, cooking classes. Without the constant noise of their dysfunction, I could actually be present. Chloe's grades soared. She joined the school chess club. She made friends. Sometimes I'd catch her looking through old photos from our time at my parents' house, but she never asked to go back. Then one quiet Sunday morning, nearly a year after we left, I was in the kitchen flipping pancakes when Chloe walked in. Thoughtful. "Mom, are you happy now?" I stopped whisking eggs and thought about it. Was I happy? Happy I walked away from a toxic family dynamic? Happy I finally protected my daughter the way no one ever protected me? Happy I broke the cycle of putting Tara first? "Yeah," I said, smiling. "I am." Chloe beamed back, that bright, easy smile I hadn't seen in so long. "Me too," she said. "I like it being just us." Later that afternoon, I went through my contacts and deleted every number tied to my parents. But I kept the voicemails. I saved them in a folder labeled "Never Again," a quiet reminder for the days I might forget why we left. Eventually, I heard the bank finally foreclosed on the house. My parents moved into a small apartment. Tara? She found someone new to leech off. Her latest boyfriend, apparently. Sometimes I wonder if they ever truly realized what they did wrong, or if they're still out there spinning a story where I'm the villain. But the truth? I don't care anymore. Chloe and we're a small family, but we're a real one. We travel when we want, laugh when we want, and never apologize for taking up space in our own home. The money I once wasted on bills and bailouts now goes into Chloe's college fund. And this time, nobody's going to steal it away for someone else's fairy tale.